together. Yeah, remember the key to success is working hard. For our country, we must have regard.
Remember, the key to success is working hard. And for our country, we must have regards. I want to welcome you to this segment in the program where I will speak, laying a solid foundation for meaningful engagement or reasoning. I want to encourage those on Facebook and YouTube to please share the live. Sharing is caring. I want to start off by saying our beloved Prime Minister is on an official visit to Ghana. And earlier, we saw online that press conference between the president of Ghana and the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister. They are engaging each other. You have the Minister of Foreign Affairs and other officials traveling with the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell, and they're engaging the Ghanaian counterparts, officials there too, in the best interest of Grenada or both countries. So let me just play two little pieces of that engagement, and then I will come right back. First, let me play where our beloved Prime Minister was inspecting the troops or the guards, and then I would play a little piece of the press conference.
Parade in honor of the visiting Prime Minister of Grenada, Prime Minister Thomas Mitchell. And so the military will be performing their drills. He'll be inspecting the guard of honor, after which he'll be ushered into the bilateral, the credentials hall here at the presidency, where he will be hosted by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Grenada is largely a mountainous country with lush forests, fertile land, beautiful beaches, and diving sites, including an underwater sculpture park, which drives tourism of that country. In fact, the country has a Westminster style of democracy. It gained independence from Britain in 1974. So many of you listening to us now obviously are older than this small island country. Their official language is English. It's a member of the British Commonwealth. His Majesty Prince Charles is the head of state and is represented locally by a Governor General who is appointed on the advice of the Prime Minister. So you see Prime Minister Mitchell, who is being led to inspect the guard of honor by the Ghana Navy. Its executive power lies with the Prime Minister and his cabinet. General elections are held every 5 years, and the country is known for growing spices, one of the world leading producers, and Grenada is commonly called the Spices Isle for its production of nutmeg, ginger, cloves. They also grow tree crops like cocoa. And so we are live from the presidency, where His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will be hosting the visiting Prime Minister of Grenada, Honorable Deacon Emis Thomas Mitchell. He's currently inspecting the guard of honor mounted by the Ghana Navy. The two countries have had relations, and the most recent was in 2024, when Ghana signed a bilateral agreement on visa waivers The two countries seek to deepen commitments and cooperation on culture, trade, reparations, health, and education. And yesterday, during the first political meeting between the two countries, Grenada expressed interest in the recruitment of Ghanaian nurses to address what we understand is severe health worker shortage. And so
that's just a little snippet of our beloved Prime Minister there. And let me just play a little piece of that press conference, you know, the engagement between both leaders. Let me just play a little piece of that too, just giving you a little feel as to what went on there.
Implemented. Ghana happens to be the headquarters of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and that was a very historic trade agreement that was signed, and so far more than 50 countries have ratified it. And so it allows us to export duty-free and tariff-free into each other's markets. And I believe it becomes an opportunity for African and Caribbean businesses to invest together to take advantage of a 1.3 billion population market and with a GDP of more than 3 trillion. And so we must find ways and means of bringing the two business communities together to create further investments. And so we're happy to welcome you, and we always welcome your visits, and I look forward to the opportunity to pay a visit back to Grenada in order that we cement the relationship even further. So you're welcome again.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and good morning to you and your esteemed delegation, members of the media. It's a profound honor, and one that is also personal to me. I should start by telling Your Excellency that in July at the Afrexim Bank conference, I revealed my DNA ancestry tracing on my maternal side, and it was traced to the Akan people of Ghana.
Yes,
so I think I could say the Akoba that was given to me yesterday, I think is a reflection of the homecoming that is deeply personal to me, but I think anecdotal to Grenada and the Caribbean. I'm not so sure the veracity of it, but I'm told 75% of the population of Grenada can trace its ancestry to Ghana. So I think for us, you know, the very first African country I visited was Ghana. And I think in a sense it's a natural aligning of the stars, and as you say, of the deliberate use of the ocean as a bridge to make sure that we in the Caribbean can reconnect in a deliberate way with our roots, both politically, socially, culturally, and importantly, economically as well. Because oftentimes, while we welcome the conversations and the meeting, we recognize the importance of trade, because it's trade that in fact led to the DAC, Middle Passage, the transatlantic slave trade. But obviously we want to be able to trade and grow economies and make sure citizens benefit from a trade that is progressive, that is deliberate, and looks after the well-being for citizens. So I want to express my deep appreciation for hosting me and my delegation. I appreciate you just came from China. It's an incredibly long way, and so for you to make time in your schedule to accommodate this visit is deeply appreciated. I want to start off right away by extending the reciprocity and by inviting Your Excellency to officially visit us in Grenada. I'm even tempted to propose the time. If your schedule will permit. You know, the 1st of August is the day in which the British, at least in the British West Indies, finally accepted that the slave trade and slavery in particular was abhorrent and at least legally should come to an end. My government only this year re-emphasized by making the 1st of August a public holiday. Because prior to that it was being celebrated on the first Monday of August rather than on the day itself. And we felt we wanted our younger generation to appreciate the significance of the day and to make sure they understand why I sometimes say that that day marks the beginning, in a sense, of our nation, because you can't have a nation where one human being owns another human being. So it is of profound significance, and if your schedule will permit, and because I think it is some significant lead time, we'd love to welcome you to be with us on that day, because I think it demonstrates, as I said, the deliberate bridge building, but also a significant reminder of our past and the importance of ensuring that future generations understand the struggle of Africans everywhere. And I see this in the context of knowing Ghana's leading role in the fight for reparations. It is something.
Right. So you had a little break there. Just a little break there. Let me try to. Just a little break there. We had a little break there in transmission, so to speak, and that's the stream itself. This stream from Ghana. So I was, trying to get that running. Let me see if I can.
Blacks are always blacks. Being a former colony of UK, Britain, to be specific, a member of the Commonwealth, gaining independence from Britain just as recent as 1974, speaks about the relationships between the many blacks in that country. 75% of them are blacks, and Ghana, of course, likening their ancestral history to that of Ghana or Ghanaians, and talking about the need for reparations. President John Mahama is the African Union champion on reparations. So obviously, that is what has been ongoing at the Credentials Hall. So immediately after the engagement, the representatives of the two countries will be having a bilateral meeting. And so I mentioned Julius Debra, the Chief of Staff, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Dr. Callistus Mahama, Elizabeth Ofosu Ejare, Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Kobna Menta Akando, who is the Minister for Health, Minister Kwacho Fosu, who is the Minister of State in charge of Government Communications. All of them will be part of this, and there will be a state luncheon at the banquet hall, which is part of this. So this is how we wrap up our live coverage of the military parade, which was inspected by the visiting Prime Minister Mitchell, and the opening remarks between him and President John Dramani Mahama, and subsequently stay with us on these channels.
Right. So that's a little, snippet, a little taste of what took place earlier this morning. The Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell and his delegation, they're in Ghana. And remember, these trips, they're planned way, way in advance. You heard the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell there inviting the President of Ghana to Grenada, and he proposed August the 1st. You talking about what? Almost 9 months or so from now. You see, these trips are planned way in advance. It is not something that happens this week for next week, or this month for next month. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. So that's something that you need to bear in mind, because you hear from the NNP all kinds of stuff. They're saying all kinds of stuff. And sometimes if you don't know, you would think, well, our Prime Minister decided to just travel to Africa for, like last week or last month. No. And he's on state's business. He's on government business. He met with counterparts, or I think it's the governor of a particular area in Nigeria, in a state in Nigeria. And, he continues to fly our flag high, engaging different leaders, because he's looking for opportunities for our people in education, in agriculture, in health, in tourism, commerce, doing business. Grenada, Ghana, Grenada, Nigeria, Grenada. That is what he is about. It's about Grenada and helping our people to move to the next level. So we really want to commend him. We really want to applaud him. And, you're just looking at our beloved Prime Minister and how he, operates. how he functions. It's just different, different. And we must all feel very proud of our beloved Prime Minister. So at this point, let me play a little piece of positivity or positive news for you again. The cruise ship season opened officially yesterday.
Grenada marked the official opening of the 2025-2026 cruise ship season on October 16th with the arrival of the Grand Princess, the first vessel to dock this season. Shania St. Bernard, the Nautical Development Manager at the Grenada Tourism Authority, said today's port call is just the first of many.
And we're here with the first cruise ship of the season, the Grand Princess, which has a capacity of 3,100 persons. We have over 180 ship calls this season, and we just want our Grenadians to come out there, show your love, be nice and kind to our people, and we're going to have a great season.
Disembarking visitors were greeted with vibrant cultural performances and Grenadian hospitality. A highlight of the event was the unveiling of the new Grenada sign at the Melville Street Cruise Terminal. Some visitors shared their excitement upon arrival.
It's beautiful, beautiful island, and I'm looking forward to seeing as much of it as possible. I will say the people here are so friendly and so nice. They've been very welcoming.
Heritage, culture, and history, that's what you come for.
We're here for a conference in Grenada. We usually go every year. We go to different islands, but this year we decided to come on a cruise, and one of our stops is in Grenada. Tasting all your spices, hearing your good music, seeing your culture, eating your foods, meeting your people. Yes, it's my first time and I'm really excited.
People here is very friendly, also very welcome in this island. So we feel very happy with this island.
The cruise season promises to boost revenue generated by the tourism industry, a central pillar of Grenada's economy.
Yes, so remember the tourist season opened officially on the 16th, that's yesterday. We look forward to that. And when I say we, you're talking about the taxi operators, we're talking about the vendors, we're talking about the restaurants, bars, just name it. And you hear from the people. The Grenadian people are friendly, they're welcoming, they're warm, and that is what you want to continue. You want that to continue. So again, I'm happy for the vendors, I'm happy for the taxi operators, I'm happy for all the people who are involved in the cruise ship industry or the tourism industry, right? I'm really happy for you. It's 100 and something cruise calls or boats or ships to come in and dock and spend some money and enjoy Grenada. We look forward to that, and I want to say to our people, let's treat the visitors well. You hear what they're saying about us. We are friendly, we are nice, and I play this also because with what is happening in our region and what we are hearing, we have to be very, very careful, right? We have to be very, very careful when it comes to our tourism industry, because if anything break out in our region, there is a great probability that it will affect the tourist season and the cruise ship season, and our tourism industry will be adversely impacted. And that is why we have to be very, very careful with what we say, what we do, and the decisions that we make or take as we move forward. We have to be very, very careful. And that is why I trust our beloved Prime Minister. His decisions have been accurate so far, and I believe in him that he will make the right decision when the time comes. We're seeing what is at play. We're seeing, but we have to be very, very, very careful as a nation, as a people, and what we say. And when we say what we say, I realize that people are free to call radio programs and say anything and everything about anybody and everybody in this place. And the moderator, the host of that program, in particular the morning program, he just allows the people to just say what they want to say. with no boundaries, no nothing, because it's called some pledge or something. People just slander people. They just say certain things and they don't care, right? But there will be a day when they would have to answer. There will be a day when they would have to answer, because some people don't understand. Calling a radio program is one, but when you call that program and you slander another person, public figure or not, they can sue the radio station, they can sue the host of that program for a lot of money. So people need to know that. Yes, there is a proliferation of FM stations. You have plenty of that, plenty FM stations in Grenada. And people are free to express themselves, but you have to also do so responsibly. You ought not to just slander people or say certain things because you have a phone and you have a radio thing playing in your house or wherever. One day, I remember suing that said radio station. I remember suing that station and also suing the host of that very program. And I was not pursuing money, but I got redress. They had to apologize for weeks, they had to apologize over and over and over again and pay my legal fees and all these different things. So I'm saying there ought to be some level of control on the part of the host of that program. It is not free for all, because the people who will be in court if someone sues is not the person who's calling the program, but instead the moderator or the host or hostess of that program. That is what you would always find, and the owner of the station. So there comes a time when the person who is in charge of the program, you need to control it. You need to, and the people who are calling in, they have to be educated on that. So to call into a program and say that person is corrupt and call the person name and all these different things, this could be dangerous. Very, very much so, because you then have to substantiate with facts, evidence that person is corrupt, right? Or that person is a thief, or that person is this, or the person is that. These things are, boy, I tell you, one day. All right? One day. Our beloved Prime Minister spoke only recently about education, and I think he's on the right track where that is concerned.
I think on the issue of education, we want to emphasize that we do not want, with all that is going on, both domestically, regionally, and internationally, for us to retreat from education. Because for a small state, really, it's your human resources and your human capacity that is going to make the difference between the success or failure of your state. And it's not just education in the sense of knowledge or technical skills, but it's also education in terms of values and morality and ethics. So this is critical as well. So that's one. And two, to reemphasize that domestically we've spent a lot of time, and we are spending a lot of time putting not just financial resources, but a strategic and policy direction to the education system in Grenada. And as I said in the speech at the UN, I recall a lot of things that we've already done, such as moving the minimum school leaving age from 16 to 18. We think policy-wise this is an important strategic shift, because if you send a 16-year-old out into the world, and if his parents can't afford to pay for him to go to university or college or any of that, you're essentially sending out a minor into the world to go fend for themselves. At an age where they can't drive, they can't vote, they can't contract. So you have 2 years of struggle. And in many instances, what it means is you have high rates of unemployment then amongst young people. So just by moving the school leaving age to 18, it forces us as a state to actually find the resources to make sure that we can continue educating them. Second, it gives us the opportunity to pivot the education system from an almost complete reliance on academic education to technical, vocational, digital and future skills education, and we've begun to address that. In Grenada, almost 97% of the budget is spent on academic education. And there is significant shortage of skilled employees in almost every field you can think of, from agriculture to tourism and hospitality, to the marine sector, to construction. And you can break down the construction, everything from the tilers, the window installers, the plumbers, the electricians, the painters. We are importing labor into the country to support a lot of the large hotel projects that are being built. But our young men are exiting school, or were exiting school at 16 with absolutely no skill training, because the education system does not, in fact, provide the opportunity for them to be skilled. So we are beginning to address this issue, first by signaling the policy shift, and then second by operationalizing this over the next couple of years. We have, for that reason, agreed to include NULO in the free tuition program that we have, although NULO is an entity that is not owned, controlled, or run by the government, but by the NGO of churches. Because NULO, at any given time, has a significant population of anywhere between perhaps 600 to 800 young men and women. And they have, over the last 20 years, carried the bulk of the technical and vocational training that is done in Grenada. In fact, you are unlikely to find a plumber or electrician or air condition or electrical technician who did not go to NULO, because no other institution is actually providing that service in terms of training our young men and women on the island. So the students who attend NULO are also benefiting from the free tuition program, and it has actually resulted in significant swelling of the attendees in terms of the numbers of persons attending NULO. And we've also agreed to give a 100% increase in the subvention we give to NULO to help in paying the trainers and the teachers within NULO. And we're doing this because it's important to recognize that when people exit the formal education system, they must exit at a level that allows them to enter the workforce and not earn minimum wages. If they exit as unskilled persons, or they do not have the right academic accreditation, then essentially they will be doing jobs that are at the lowest rung of the ladder and at the least well-paid, and automatically you'd have either significant rates of unemployment or mismatch between the jobs that are available and our ability to fill them. But we also have to live in the now and the future. And I'll give an example of what we've been doing. Cybersecurity is a major challenge, but there is no formal institution in Grenada, or for that matter regionally, that teaches you cybersecurity. So if you wanted to actually pursue that study, you would have to probably leave the country just to do so. So what we've done is partner with a Canadian entity, Cyber Nation. So the idea was that we would run a pilot where we would train or offer to train 100 young men and women in cybersecurity over a 6 to 8 month period. And we've paid for it ourselves. And we were able to graduate, I think, about 65 of them about 2 months ago. And the arrangement with Protexa and Cyber Nations is that they will actually do a 1 year hand-holding period where they actually find jobs for these young men and women, not necessarily just in Grenada, but regionally and internationally. The average starting salary of someone who's accredited in cybersecurity is $3,500 US after 8 month course, if you're good at it. You could go to university and graduate as a lawyer and come out in Grenada and you'll be making $3,500 EC. So I'm saying education is changing at the point where a short-term course, less than 12 months, in the right area could double or triple your earning capacity compared to traditional 5 or 7 year degrees that often involves large sums that you borrow. And when you come out, you're stuck in student debt for a significant period. And I think even in the US, you've had the challenge of student debt that students have to address. So we also recognize that education itself is changing. The way in which education is delivered is changing. So we have significant opportunity for virtual education, for short-term education that is more skill-based, more practical, and more relevant to the actual job market. That if you do graduate, if you do get accredited, and with the access to high-speed internet, the world is flat, you can apply your trade from Grenada, but your clients can be anywhere in the world. And cybersecurity is a perfect example. There is a huge demand for cybersecurity specialists and other persons who are trained in cybersecurity. And it is something that is going to continue to grow, because as we put everything online, the same way you have criminals in the real world is the same way you have criminals in the virtual world. And cybersecurity is absolutely vital, because everything is going online. The electricity system, the water systems, the social security systems, the banking system, government services, tax, everything is online. And if you don't have not just the firewalls and the software, if you don't have the human beings who are trained in being able to detect, prevent, and intercede with bad actors, then you run the risk of your entire system collapsing. So even those persons who we've trained, many of them are going to come and work for the government of Grenada because everything is going online, or tax system, or passport application forms. We are going to be switching over to electronic ID cards and eventually advanced passenger information systems and biometric entry points at the airport and so on, and you need to be able to protect all of those systems. So when we talk about education and making sure that people have the skills today for the future, that's the kind of things that we are talking about.
Yes, very nice. So that is the type of leader we want in our country. One with vision, one who understands the importance of education. Because he knows that if a person is educated, and he's not just talking about book sense, holistically, Grenada benefits, that person family benefits, individual benefit too. But I'm talking about across the board. It would have a positive effect or impact on our nation. That is why the government is investing so much in the educating of our people. That is really, really good. If you ask me, we have not seen that in the NNP. We experienced the NNP for 23 years and a half, and they never saw education, agriculture, and healthcare as important. They never saw it as important. In fact, if you look at the investment in education, agriculture, and healthcare under this government, you could really see the direction that the country is heading, where they're seeking to build a brand new teaching hospital facility at Hopevale. They already got the lands. Co-financing was secured from the Afro-Exim Bank, $670 million, and they continue to push to reach a 1 billion mark. At the end of the day, this particular project will transform Grenada. Some people don't know, when students at St. George's University who are pursuing their degree in medicine, the last 2 years of that study or that degree, the last 2 years, so it might be 5 years, so or 6, the last 2 years of that, they have to do the practical aspect of things, right? The hands-on. So they normally go to the United States or to the United Kingdom. So they have an option. They can choose to go to the United States or they can choose to go to the United Kingdom. But that's all a part of the course. That 2 years of going, then the apartments that they were renting, they have to give that up. So the owner of that building or that place or those apartments, they lose that income. They lose that money because the students they're going back for 2 years in the United States or in the United Kingdom. And then you have the taxi operators or the restaurants in that area, the supermarkets in that area, the clubs, it's across the board. So they would lose a lot. They would lose a lot of money. The economy will lose a lot of money. So if you have a teaching facility here and SGU already signed MOUs and all that kind of stuff with the government of Grenada regarding that facility, then the students can actually go right there and complete their training. And they don't have to leave for that last 2 years. They would stay right here and do that. You see? So healthcare is a serious thing. It's a serious thing for this country. And then you have the nurses who are graduating from SGU. And the government put in place an internship program where they can go on the job for 6 months, 6 months, and do the actual thing. Yes, you go in the classroom. Yes, you become a nurse, but here is an opportunity for you to go on the job for 6 months and then graduate in real life as a nurse. All right. So the government is serious about healthcare. The kitchen at the hospital that was done brand new with equipment and other things like that, staffed and that kind of thing. Then you have the clinics. You have quite a number of clinics refurbished, reconditioned, upgraded. The Maribor Princess Alice, they continue to do a lot of work there, right? Then the psychiatric hospital, some people say, in local terms, the crazy house or the mad house, we kind of getting away from that. But they're going to construct that at Maribor. So a lot is happening. You look at Carriacou, things that they were not able to do at that hospital facility. They're not doing it there thanks to the NDC administration. So we have to remain focused and understand the plan, understand the mission, what we are seeking to achieve, not just short term, but medium to long term. You look at agriculture and what the government is doing there in that area. So a lot is happening in agriculture. A lot is happening in education. A lot is happening in health. And that is what you want. You want a nation whose pillars are healthcare, education, agriculture, human resource development, or investing heavily in our people. So the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell, he's on the right track. I want to applaud him and his government for staying focused, and bringing benefits, bringing opportunities to our people. And some people need to understand that we don't print money. We do not have gold. We have not even yet start exploring and exploiting our hydrocarbon deposits. Yes, we know we have. How much? That's the question. And when can that be realized? It will take some time, you see? So we don't have the luxury of those things. So our beloved Prime Minister, he has to go out there, engage countries, and try to get things for Grenada, so that Grenada could develop. People need to understand that. That's one thing that you need to get in your head. You hear the NNP talking about he should stay home and focus on this and focus on that. Well, if he stays here, all what should come to Grenada, if he engages these world leaders, it would not come. As old people would say, you could only get fat if you go there, if you walk, if you engage, if you can't just think that being a leader, you have to stay in Grenada. You have to engage. You have to travel. You have to, try to get things for your people. And the other thing that you need to get into your mind, development is not only building a piece of road or building a piece of drain. Development is not just concrete, doing something concrete or in concrete. It can be about people, human resource development. When young people get scholarships, that's development. That is development. When our workers are regularized, made permanent, they can go to the credit union, they can go to the bank, they can get a loan because they have security of tenure, job security. That's development. When families who occupy crown lands not having title to it, title deed, but some of them may have paid already for the lands. And for years, they've been clamoring and asking for that piece of paper which says that this land belongs to that family or that person. And the government decided to go ahead and regularize them and give them that title to that piece of land. That's development. That is development. So sometimes you have to understand it's not just about a piece of concrete road or a piece of concrete drain. When the government decides to make education, access to tertiary level education, more or less free, with the free tertiary, free tuition policy, where parents don't have to hold their head to get at $810. And the children, the young ones could go on to college and get an associate's degree. That's development. That is development. You have the free hot meal program where 13,000 young people are being fed every day. That's development. So sometimes don't see it as just a concrete thing. Take out this thing in your head that somebody has to build a piece of drain or a piece of road, and then you say, well, that's development. No, it's more than that. It is more than that. So we have to start putting that in our people. When farmers get assistance, for example, the breeding program that they have, because we've had shortage of meat, pork, mutton, lamb, whatever, we have had our beef, we have had shortage of that for a very, very long time. And if you speak to the butchers, they will tell you that they have to get that beef or that cow from St. Vincent. From St. Vincent. And then they have to transport it to Grenada and then slaughter it. Even pork, right? Shortage across the board. So what the government did is to say we need to invest in a breeding program to breed animals and have enough for our meat market. The NNP never had the vision to embark upon such a program. They just left it as it was. So they had no problem in purchasing the cows, purchasing the sheep, purchasing the goats from St. Vincent and the pigs and that kind of thing. They had no problem with that. The NNP. And they just left it just that same way for years. The NDC came in and they invested in that program. Then you had Hurricane Ivan, Hurricane Emily, then recently Beryl. It destroyed the coconut industry. The NNP never saw the need, or they never had the vision to invest in that industry, to get that industry revitalized, so that it can bounce back. Who again invested millions in that industry? The NDC. They decided we need to plant back our coconuts because this is a thriving industry. So the government is serious. The government is serious about agriculture. Having a national hatchery, for example. I know of poultry farmers having to order way in advance chicks, the old chicks or whatever they call them. And it takes a while to come here from Barbados or come here from Miami. But now we have the national hatchery right here doing that, which is great. And then you have a private one that government is supporting, and that is what you want. That is exactly what you want in your country. That's development. You have a tissue culture lab. We have not had that under NNP. brand new, so we can get the right plans, disease-free plans. That's development. So don't see development only in concrete terms, just concrete, concrete, concrete. It is more than that. And we have to commend the government for understanding that it's not just concrete, concrete, concrete. Because the NNP taught our people that if you don't build a hotel, if you don't build some kind of thing, then it's not development. So the six senses, they continue to expand, they continue to build Intercontinental, a hotel. They continue to build. I think there is a serious expansion coming, right? Just forget the name of that hotel project. And then you have the hotel project in Livera. So these things continue. And very soon, the Kiwana Bay Resort, that particular property, that will be worked on and development will take place there. They will continue with that project and so on. So these things are continuing. These things are happening. But we have to focus on our people, because our people have been abandoned more or less for many, many, many years. So when nurses, for example, and doctors get, well, nurses, $500 more added to their salary. Doctors, $1,000 more added to their salary. That's development. If you don't know, that's an incentive to keep them, to say to them, yes, we know you can go to the United Kingdom. Yes, we know you can go to another country, and you might get more, far more, but this is your country. Your country needs you. And as a gesture of appreciation and thanks, we are giving you $500 more in your salary, and you can stay right here as a nurse. And we're giving you $1,000 more on your salary. You can stay right here as a doctor. Because we know nurses are going to greener pastures, and that has always happened. You can't run away from that reality. But still, that's development. That's development, people. The minimum wage and increasing the wage of our people, the simple workers. NNP in the 23 years and a half never adjusted the minimum wage so that people can get higher salaries or better salaries. And mind you, the people who the minimum wage impacted positively, predominantly so, they support NNP. Just think about it. All right? I remember going to a supermarket, and there was this security officer, and he started getting on because he saw me and he supports the NNP. And he started, talking badly about the NDC. And somebody was in that supermarket tell him, why the hush you? Use that statement or that phrase. Why the hush you? All right? Or made that statement to him. And the individual went on to say, look, thanks to the NDC, you moved from $4 an hour to $9.25 an hour. To $9.25 an hour. So people are getting the message that the government cares about people. And that is why the person who works as a housekeeper in those hotels, they're getting more money. The gardener getting more money. The bus conductor getting more. The cleaner, the geriatric caregiver, and it's across the board. But under the NNP time, they never saw the need to adjust the minimum wage. So I'm saying that's development, people. You have to understand what is development. You have to understand what is development. You go into communities that were dark, and the NDC administration embarked upon the solar light project, where they're lighting up communities. That's development. You may trivialize it, you may see it as insignificant, but you go and speak to the young ladies or the women who were afraid to go out at nights because the area dark. And with the lights, they can go comfortably because it brings a level of security to them. That is very important. Very important. You see some of the play areas, playground, where they're investing more and more to make sure that the kids can go and play and spend some time, that family can go and just spend some time together. That's development. That is development. But you see, the NNP made a lot of people believe that if you don't have a big hotel going up, then it's not development, which is, terrible. Terrible, if you ask me. So we have to remain focused as a people. We have to remain focused as a people and understand what is development. What is development? You have to understand that. So, folks, we continue to remain focused and understand the mission, right? And be very careful with certain publications, because it is the same trick that they played during the NDC period of 2008 to 2013. Be very careful with some of these publications. Very, very careful. And around now, especially around this time, they are trying to get under your skin. The people who are not politically savvy, who doesn't understand the politics. These same people who are publishing all of these things, these negative stuff against the government and against this member of parliament and that member of parliament. You ask them, for example, the New Today published on the front page, 4 ministers will lose their seats. And they put Lennox Andrew, they put Tevin Andrews, Lennox Andrews, Tevin Andrews, Dennis Cornwall, and Joseph Andel's face and picture on the front page of the New Today. And I laugh. And it says Justin Perry prediction. Justin Pear prediction. And I just laugh. And I say to myself, is this guy for real? And mind you, this guy is not on the ground in Grenada. He's not on the ground in Grenada. Don't fool yourself, No. And not only that, you ask him, you say, but when last have you been in Grenada? When last have you been in Carriacou? Right? You ask and look at the seats that they're targeting. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. And you say to yourself, but for example, just as an example, with all that the Honorable Tevin Andrews, for example, continue to do in Carriacou and PT Martinique, you still have this guy saying those things, and you wonder. You see, the movement is about to launch, and all that you're seeing there is around that. So be very careful with those publications and predictions from in fact, Justin Pear has become worse than Peter Wickham, in my belief. It's you see, the guy is a want to be. You understand the point? He's a want to be relevant. He want to be talked about. He want to be X and Y. It's just sometimes you laugh. You laugh because these same guys, and mind you, you hear George Worm, or you read in George Worm publication that he was the guy to predict that the NDC was going to win. What stupidness I hear in there. Even Ride Along predicted that NDC was going to win. Even the little poll that I did twice, 3 times, people knew. The people who were on the ground and the people who were in the mix, they knew what was going down. So this guy wants to be relevant, and then, George Worm would grab this nonsense and put it on the front page because, you know, he wants people to, of course, read his newspaper. And nothing wrong with that. He's my good partner. In fact, yesterday we had a nice chit chat. All right. But at the end of the day, folks, be very careful with these publications. Very careful. In fact, they would have another publication next week again, next weekend, and the other weekend, and the other one. Be very, very careful. I'm telling you, with those publications, because they're not doing these things by guess. They're not doing these things by guess. And you see what they don't understand, or they understand, but they're just plain dumb or plain stupid. When the government gave police officers, for example, the pay and grade, meaning increased the salaries of the police officers, they believe that all 1,000 something police officers are from St. George. That is what they believe. They don't know, or they don't know, that police officers come from different parts of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. So when they got their pay and grade and the increase in their salaries, they come from different constituencies. And they would be extremely happy to get an increase in their salary because they never got it during the NNP time. So the impact is nationwide. When nurses got that $500 on their salary, you believe that those nurses come from one constituency? And they have families. They come from different constituencies throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Different villages. So the impact will be felt across nationwide. Same thing with doctors, like the minimum wage. You think the minimum wage adjustment is only affecting positively people in St. George, the 5 constituencies in St. George? No, there are people whose salaries increased in the Honorable Lennox Andrews constituency, the Honorable Tevin Andrews constituency, the Honorable Joseph Anders constituency, the Honorable Dennis Conwell's constituency, all the constituencies. So it's not just about the MP or the individual. It's amazing, you know. When farmers get assistance, you think it's only in the town of St. George or in the parish St. George? No, it's nationwide. And all of these farmers, they have families. When government assisted people through the CESS program, you think the 500 and something people are from the St. David alone or the St. George alone? No, the 500 and something people who got assistance, they're from different constituencies. The 500 and something retirees, for example, who got their pension and continue to get their pension every month. You think they come from one constituency? No, they come from all the constituencies in the country, and they come from families. So that's common sense. When the government increased the new Imani trainees stipend, you think the new Imani trainees only come from one parish? Let's say St. David or St. George? No, they come from different constituencies and different villages. So the salaries went up, the stipend went up. Those who are a part of the Empower program, for example, right? The young men who are part of that program, when they increase their stipend from $700 to $1,000, you think they come from just St. Mark or St. Patrick? They come from all different constituencies and they are part of that program. So it's common sense. It's common sense. And you look at other programs, so the free tuition policy, giving the students who go to TAMCC and NULO, right? Access. Government pays that. So you think that the 2,000 young people come from one constituency? No. They come from nearly all the constituencies in the country. And every year, you have 2,000 or so of them getting that kind of assistance and support. The free hot meal program. You believe that the 13,000 people being fed, they come from one constituency? No. It's island-wide. Island-wide. And we can go on and on and on and on. So all of these initiatives and programs, the laptop and ebook program, you think the 3,875 laptops with ebooks and so on it distributed to students, you believe that they come from one constituency? No, across the board. Across the board. So in other words, ask yourself the question, what will cause a person to vote for somebody, or to vote for a party, or to vote for a leader? Come on. Is it about you liking a member of parliament or not liking a member of parliament? In fact, research shows in small island politics that under 5% of the electorate tend to vote for the member of parliament, They vote for their party or they vote for a leader. And more so a leader. So all this prediction and all this nonsense that this cow pollster is predicting and talking all this stupidness. That is why you see NNP was so badly beaten at the last elections. But I know what this guy is doing. I know he has become worse, in my belief, worse than Peter Wickham. So folks, you have to ask yourself, what would get you elected? All these things that I list for you, all these things that the government continue to do for the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique, right? The question is, what do you want more? Because the NNP was there. You saw them. You saw them, right? Now the NDC is here. In other words, this thing is common sense. You don't need to be a genius to understand that. And for the first time in the history of the electoral system, we have seen in an election and just under, let me just say just a little above 3 years, we have seen so many people registering to vote. And if you go and you speak to NNP, they're scared like hell. They won't tell you that. But they know it's an unprecedented number. Having 7,000-8,000 people register in a 3-year period. That's unprecedented. This is not just people going and register for ID, No. The young people prefer to go to NIS and get an NIS ID than a voter's ID. So this thinking that, people go and register because they want to get an ID and they're young and they come from school. No. People are registering because they want to vote to keep the most honorable Deacon Mitchell and his team in power. If you don't know, let me tell you. So all this talk and all this prediction from this cow pollster, it's a big joke. It's a laugh. And it's a pity that George Worm, my good partner, is falling for the trick. It's a pity. But again, he's in the newspaper business, and more readership he gets is better for him when he markets his newspaper. So it's what it is. So it's kind of common sense. But I am saying, folks, have no fear. These people, the day of political reckoning is coming, and the next election will be like a movie. If you believe that the NNP was badly beaten in the last election, wait for the next election to come. And you will see for yourself. Grenadians are ready to get rid of the whole NNP dynasty. I call it a dynasty or a clan, right? The Grenadians are ready to bury them once and for all politically. after the next election, there would be history. I'm telling you, Grenadians are ready for that. And some people don't understand how things are playing out. The NNP continues to lose support and lose people. I see it every day. People speak to me. They tell me they used to support the NNP and now they no longer support the NNP. So the NDC is growing in numbers. People are supporting the NDC more and more. And then you have the people in the middle who love to see the direction the country is going. And they're in full support of the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell and his team. They're not NNP or NDC, right? They're all about country. And then you have the folks in the diaspora. We have a lot of Grenadians who are registered and who are in the diaspora. And also who are ready to return and vote come the next election. If you don't know that, let me tell you, thousands of Grenadians are ready once that bell is rang, once the election is announced. You're going to see. You believe that the 50th independence celebrations was epic and we had a lot of Grenadians who return home? Wait for the election. If you want to see the amount of people here for the next election, just wait. Just wait and you would see. Just wait. Because you see, the people who are supporting the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell and his team, they're independent people. They're independent people. They just want to be organized so they can return home and do what they must do come the next election. So we have no fear. We have no fear. I am cognizant of that fact, that a great number of people, and that is why when I go out there and I engage, Cam Jones, personally, engage in the diaspora in a very deep way to organize them, to mobilize them, to make sure that they understand the important role that they will play come the next election. So the NDC folks here in Grenada, they will go out and vote. The people in the middle, they will go out and vote. When you are involved in that, you know what happened. So I'm telling you, we continue to do what we have to do. So don't worry about these guys. They don't know what is going on because the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell has not embraced them. A lot of them are still bitter and sour. If you realize who the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell embraced and rolling with, he don't want to see these guys who are there long, and you see they want to be relevant. They want to, in fact, this same Carl Polster, he wants to be engaged and he's not being engaged. So he's bitter, he's sour. And you have to know that, right? So folks, I am saying, understand what is at play. They're going to come out with all kind of publications, negative publications, because they want the government to look bad, right? But they're not getting that because people are actually feeling the positive impact of this government and what this government continues to do for our people. So we are not perturbed. We are not worried at all. We are focused. In fact, we are more driven to excellence and doing what we must do to improve the lives of our people. All right? And look, many of these people, they are still outdated. They don't understand the evolution of the politics. People are being impacted. You go and speak to that young person in TAMCC, and they will tell you how happy they are that the government rolled out the free tuition policy. You go and speak to the hundreds and hundreds of young people who receive their scholarship and getting opportunities. Go and speak to them, and they will tell you. So we have to remain focused, right? All this prediction, all this nonsense, ignore them, and let's press forward. Let's continue to work in the best interest of all of our people. I want to say to you, the folks who are going up at Project 500, because a lot of people have been going up on the site of Project 500 in Dunfermline. Folks, they have not yet completed the 17 houses, and they will announce the date or dates when people can actually come and visit and see the 17 houses. All right? So they have not yet announced that. So they're urging the public not to visit the site for now, because work is taking place on the site as we speak. So again, they're urging you. They will announce, when you can visit and when you can check out the houses. So have no fear, but please don't go on the site at this point in time. So a lot of people have been visiting the site, and it's becoming a problem for the workers and for housing authority generally. So please, we urge you, there will be a date, time when you can visit. They have not yet completed the construction of the houses. So please, I beg of you. All right? I beg of you. So folks, let's remain focused. Let's understand the mission, and don't worry about all this post and all this prediction, all this nonsense. In my little finger, I have more political sense than many of these people in them. In my little finger, I have more political sense than them. Just their little finger, much less the whole. Just ignore them, and let's remain focused. Let's do what we have to do and keep our eyes on the prize. We're doing a fantastic job. Folks, have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now. Bye for now.